What ho, everybody? Ian here. Yes, it's less than a week to the Granite City train show, and well, I've tested and everything's running well, and just want to have a bit of fun before I pack everything up and get everything ready. So, going to take you through some fun and games I've been having with making some little bits for the layout. So here's what I'm going to do, the silly little things that I'm going to do for Bontofts. The physical size of these large scale items it's a lot of fun, and your imagination can really run riot, saying, oh, can I make this, can I make that? And well, there is on this door from that was on the Look Out for Trains micro. I made a door handle complete with a lever handle there. And for 7/8, well, 7/8 was really silly. I got really carried away here. And in this wagon, I have quite a few crazy little pieces that I made. A crowbar, pry bar, some very large spanners, wrenches, a smaller spanner wrench, a very long screwdriver. My gosh, there is actually I actually made a smaller one than that, but sorry, I lost that one. And then there's a sledgehammer, a toolbox, and an adjustable vise. So yeah, you really can go to town with that stuff, and it's a lot of fun to work out how to make these things and see if you can keep your sanity while you actually do that. And the thing that I'm wanting to work on for Bontofts is, well, okay, the thermos flask, vacuum flask, and cup that I have made a test piece of, and it seems to work with some pieces of styrene tubing. So I'm going to see if I can make another thermos flask and paint it up and see how that works. I must be crazy. Seriously, really crazy. But it's fun. So some of you are going to be sitting there thinking, this is crazy. Making a model of a thermos flask. What is this guy playing at? Well, I'd almost lost the test piece there. But it's not that difficult. Things with like a thermos flask is there are different sizes, so you don't have to be too exact on the size of materials you're using. I mean, I've got this one here that I used as a guideline. This is a pretty big one. This is I mean, this one comes with like 2 cups, and it's very fancy with like a push button in the bottom there for pouring your drinks. So it's bigger than average. So you take this as a kind of like a basis and just work from there. And I've got a stack of evergreen styrene here. The handy thing with evergreen styrene tubes and rods is you will find that one very easily fits inside the other. I suppose that was designed for doing things like hydraulic rams and such like. I mean, this is a piece of 4mm tube, and if I take a piece of 2.4mm, one slides perfectly into the other. So the inside diameter of this tube is about 2.4mm, so that just perfectly slides together. And then likewise, this the 2.4mm tube, the inside diameter here is around about 1mm. So millimeter rod will slide in there pretty easily. So, and that's the basis of the flask. First thing is I've decided that my flask, this flask is about a foot tall, so that's 16mm. So we will go with a length of rod 16mm in length. The width of the flask is, this is difficult to come up with a good measurement, but I think it's, well, it's under 4 inches. It's about 3 3/4 inches. So if I've got a piece of styrene that's like scales up to between 3 and 4 inches, I will be happy with that. And I've got 4-inch. I've got 4-inch. I've got 4mm tube here. So 4, 8, 12, 16. So this is going to be about 3 scale inches in diameter, which is a little bit small, but like I said, flasks are all different sizes, so we don't worry too much about scale fidelity there. So we're going to go with the 4mm tube for the outside of the flask, then the 2.4mm tube for the 4mm tube is going to be the 2.4mm tube here is going to be for this area here, which will form the lip that a cup would sit on. And then we'll go with 1mm rod for this area here, which is like the stopper. So that's what I'm going to do, and we'll start cutting. So we've set up a stop on my Northwest Shortline chopper, and we're just going to cut some tube to the correct lengths. As you know, with the blade of a chopper, if you go straight down in one go, then it's very likely that the blade will angle. So we need to keep the blade as vertical as possible. So what we do is we just touch the tube with the blade, and then we just simply rotate the tube against the stopper and the blade, and it should cut. It should cut a perfectly flat, square-ended tube. And well, what we also need for the flask is a cup. Now, if I measure this cup here, this cup is like 2 3/4 inches or 70mm tall. So come on, that's near enough 3 inches, 1/4 of a foot. So a cup is going to be like 4mm tall. Now, in fact, I would cut it a little bit shorter than that, because I actually put a base on the cup as well. so you have to allow for that. So I would cut my 3.5 or so millimeter lengths of tube, and I've got some 0.25 by 6.3 millimeter strip here. So what I'm basically going to do is stick these sections of tube onto the strip, and then when the glue has set, I will file the strip to the same shape as the tube. Pretty easy. Excuse the shaking, we're in extreme close-up mode here. Here's the lengths of tube stuck to the strip, drying. So when I think they've cured enough, I will cut those up individually and file the strip to the same shape as the tube to make the cups. And perhaps you look at this and you think, hey, this might make gauges in the cab of a large-scale model locomotive. You know what? You're absolutely right. I did that before, long time ago. If you take a look inside my Pure Spring Watercress Bedford and Jesty locomotive, you will see that I added some dials in the cab there, and that was exactly the same principle as what I've done here. Those were just really, really thin slices of tube in there. It's amazing what you can do with styrene, isn't it? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this is really, really silly. And I wouldn't blame you for thinking that, because right now I am making the cups for the thermos. And as you know, I stuck the tube onto a piece of 6.3 by 0.25 millimeter strip, and then cut the tube. I cut the strip on that is now the base to the same shape as the tube, and I'm now filing those edges up so that it looks quite reasonable. And yeah, it's probably a little bit silly, but you know what? It is extremely rewarding to be able to do this. It's quite relaxing. If you think, I'm just, it's just strokes of, it's just the odd stroke of a file. It's just, and it's going really well, and I'm ridiculously pleased with myself for doing this right now. So here's a kit of parts for 3 thermos flasks. So I'll take you through what I've got. I'll take you through what I've got. Now, of course, we have the body of the flask here. I've got 3 of those. Now we've had a slight change of plan. When I took a closer look at this tube, when I took a closer look at this tube, I decided that the inside diameter was more like 2.5 millimeter than 2.4. So I didn't have any 2.5 millimeter tube or rod in stock, so I took some 2.5 millimeter half round and made it into 2.5 millimeter rod. So that was silly. And then you'll see these tiny little pieces here. These are for the stopper and the at the end of the flask. Once you have the kit of parts, then everything just falls together. You take your 4 millimeter diameter tube, slide the 2.5 millimeter rod inside it, and then glue the stopper onto the top of the 2.5 millimeter rod. The handle on the cup was made from a piece of 0.25 by 1.5 strip, and I decided not to make it a loop handle because I had a flask like this as a young'un, and it just had a flat tab as the handle. So, and the handle on the flask body, that was cut from a section of some 6mm, I believe, square tube. Just sliced a thin piece off and then cut the one side off, so that gave a handle. And then, well, just put a coat of paint on them, and well, I think they look pretty good. And the cup, the mug, the coffee mug there, just for fun, I decided to make that, and that uses exactly the same principles as the flask. It was just a tube with a base on there, and filed the base to size, and then added a handle from a piece of tube a thin sliver of tube that I cut in half. Easy. It's just so easy. These jobs are not difficult at all. And if you just put your mind to them and find a way to be careful as you do them, then it's pretty easy to do. I made 3 flasks and the coffee mug in an hour and a quarter. So, all in all, this was a lot of fun. So, as I always say, build that model, even if it is a flask or a coffee mug. Lay that track, run that train, but above all, have fun.